Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Yura and we are back in Rush Duel Links once again for another deck out of the new box. Unlike Red Eyes, this deck is bad. It's bad. It's not good. It's very bad. Shockingly, I actually don't think that the Wind deck from the box is the worst deck in the box. I think it's EXCUTIE. Unlike the Wind deck, it is bad in an interesting way, where I think the Wind deck is... it's not meta, it's not terrible, it just does one thing over and over and over again, and I really do not care about it, unfortunately. I think it's so boring, so you probably won't see it from me. Kind of a very similar thing to Aqua, where I just did not think the playstyle was all that interesting, and I thought the general loop of the deck wasn't that interesting. So you probably will not see Following World from me, despite how silly this card looks. So instead, we are talking about the other deck in the box that is not exactly Red Eyes or Following World, and that's EXCUTIE, a normally really good deck in the OCG, has been brought to Duel Links in a frustrating manner, a really frustrating manner. It is genuinely so upsetting to see the way in which we got these cards, because this should have been another deck to add to the meta, and is instead not at all. It's not at all that. The deck is missing some of its really important power cards. Its skill is really bad, which we'll touch on in a moment. And it just struggles to kill your opponent completely and utterly, getting shut down by so many things. And yet, I still find myself enjoying it. The deck you see on screen is actually not the one that I'm going to be covering today. This is the deck that I was initially thinking of covering for this video. And I actually recorded an entire video on it already, and it lost both of its preview games. And then, while I was perusing about some Discords that I was in, I came across a list that I liked infinitely more. So I'm going to swap over there and show off the new list. This is the list that I will actually be covering today. Full shout outs to the Rush Duel Links Discord server that I am in, or I guess it's more just like a general Rush server, but someone in there is the entire reason that this list exists, and it is so goddamn cool. I would feel extremely dumb to not showcase this version of the deck, because while I was testing it, it got me to COG, like really cleanly and easily. And while it's a late month COG, it's still a COG nonetheless, and it is a very fun deck to pilot. So, as with all of my Rush Duel Links deck profiles, we're going to start at the top with the skill and then go through the card by card, talking about how the deck is meant to play as we cover each individual piece. So, starting us off, we've got Lilius Contact, which, as I've already said, is a terrible skill, and it's really not hard to see why. This is a very short skill, and it does actively detrimental things for your strategy. Lilius Contact reads, it is activated at the beginning of the duel automatically, and for an effect of adding 3 EXCUTIE Lilius, who is a good card, to your deck, and 3 EXCUTIE Lumiere Frontier, who is also a good card, to your extra deck. You can only have at most 3 copies of each card. So, off the bat, it's very similar to the Gradius skill, which is a good skill. We like Gradius. Gradius is really cool, despite the fact that the skill itself does nothing. This skill is different in a worse way. While the Gradius skill only adds cards to your extra deck, this skill adds cards to your main as well, making the minimum number of cards you can run in your main deck while piloting a list like this 33 cards, which is, for any of you that are familiar at all with deck building in card games in general, the less cards the better, and this skill forces us to play more in a strategy that already kinda breaks. The actual cards you get from this skill are really solid though. Lilius is a really easy to summon beater, and Lumiere Frontier is extremely powerful removal, being able to shuffle a face-up monster on your opponent's field into the deck, and is also a contact fusion using both a Lilius and the main star of the main deck, Lumiere, who we will cover momentarily. These cards are, for the most part, all level 6s. There are some EXCUTIEs that are not level 6, but we don't have them in the game yet, so it doesn't really matter. And they all have 500 defense. So a lot of the cards are going to reference cards that are level 6 with 500 defense for their effects. But that's really all there is to talk about with the skill. The skill is extremely nothing, so we're going to move on to the card by card, and I can hopefully articulate why this deck is kind of struggling currently. So up first in the main, we've got EXCUTIE Lumiere, who is the star of the show in the main deck. that isn't exactly Lilius. Lumiere can be special summoned from your hand if you control no monsters, and for no requirement, you can shuffle a face-up level 6 monster on your field and a level 7 or 8 face-up monster on your opponent's field into the owner's deck. Then this turn, you cannot attack with level 7 or higher monsters. That restriction is present on a lot of the executives. It's just kind of how it is. That's how the deck works. You're supposed to play with 6s and unders, which is why all their contact fusions are level 6. Next up, we actually have a legend monster who also happens to be level 6 and is one of the main reasons why this deck can get over big monsters at all. Great Maju Garzette is a fine card. It is maybe the biggest shiny magnet of all time, which, you know, not good, not really ideal. However, it does help us get over some really big bodies that we would otherwise only be able to clear using a hammer shot or by hitting it preemptively with one of our trap cards. Great Maju Garzette specifically reads, for a continuous effect, this card gains attack equal to the original attack of one monster that was tributed to tribute summon this card in attack position, times 2. This means if you tribute over something like Lilius, which is 2500, he goes to 5k. If you tribute over Lumiere, he goes to 36. There's also 34s in here, and 24s, I guess, if you count the other sub-engines. But Garzette can get really big, and it is really important that he does so. Because normally the way that you would be getting over big bodies in this deck is through an EXCUTIE that they just did not decide to give to us, which, thanks, Konami. I really appreciate that. Next up, we've got EXCUTIE Floa, who is your main way of recurring your monsters out of the graveyard. Floa specifically reads, during the turn you normal summon this card. It is a 6. You can add a level 6 non-water attribute monster with 500 defense from your graveyard to your hand, and then it has the level 7 or higher restriction. This means you can add basically anything that is not exactly Floa from grave to hand. Really good for setting up your contact fusion plays and just generally for getting the right pieces out of the grave and into the hand, because this deck does have a decent amount of ways to mill. In the previous version of the deck, we were on the Specters, specifically Heaven's End, to look at the top 3 cards of our deck and send one there. In this, we are on the Gradiuses to do that. We'll cover that sub-engine a little later. We've also got EXCUTIE Leia, who is another free extender if we control a level 6 monster with 500 defense on our field, and has the continuous effect of being able to shrink all level 7 or higher monsters on the field by 300 attack and defense. It's kind of a minor shrink, but it does unironically come up a shocking amount. At the very least, it can keep you alive, whereas if you didn't have it, you might die to a little bit of extra chip damage. It's a small thing. It does matter. It also, very niche case, it lets Great Maju Garzette that is tributed over a Lilius beat over a 5-headed dragon, which that's, you know, that's funny. It's, you know, it's funny. I don't think it can actually kill the 5-headed dragon because if I remember correctly, it cannot be destroyed by battle. Yeah, sure can. So you could punch it for 300. Niche case, I know, but you know, oh, there he goes. I'll get him back. Don't worry about that. The rest of the deck is actually, no, sorry, there's one more EXCUTIE name. The final EXCUTIE we're on is Plotty, who is the main way that you have outside of exactly Lumiere to start your plays, because EXCUTIEs kind of need an EXCUTIE already on board to do their things. And if you don't have a way of getting an EXCUTIE on board, the Floas and the Leias and the Liliuses are just going to sit in your hand doing absolutely nothing. So Plotty can reveal another 6 in your hand with 500 defense in order to special summon herself from the hand, and then while on field, you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard in order to gain 500. That life point gain doesn't really matter too much. It's the mill that we care more so about. As for the rest of the deck, the generics that we're on 2 copies of Steel Soldier Gain Vainari, because as I've already mentioned, this deck has a lot of trouble getting over big bodies, because, you know, we don't really have the stats to beat over opponents' monsters, because a lot of our monsters are kind of small. And then we're also on Vic Viper Beginning and Gradius's Option as our other sub-engine that has replaced the Specters. I think you can totally play the Spectre version of this deck and still find success, or success in this case being hitting King of Games. But I gotta say, after testing with this version of the deck, the chef cooked unbelievably hard. The Gradius cards here help so much. Ripple Laser is just such an unbelievable card. It is both graveyard setup And you can use the beginning to clear your board off to get your flow of plays going. Say you have like a Lumiere just sitting on field, or I don't know, like a Lilius sitting around. You can use the beginning to get it off the board and then option back. And then if you sent something like a Lilius Contact that got flip face down, or the Frontier that got flip face down, you can then scramble it back for additional game pushes. Like it is so cool. I love Vic Viper beginning here. It is an unbelievably cool card. Specifically beginning, if you don't know what it does, allows you to pay 100 life points for the effect of this turn. This card's name becomes Gradius. Then you could send up to 2 other monsters from your hand or field to the graveyard. Then if you sent a monster to the graveyard, you could special summon Gradius option from your graveyard to your field in face-up defense position equal to the number of monsters sent to the graveyard by this effect. And then Gradius option reads, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard in order to choose a face-up level 4 light attribute machine type monster with 800 original defense on your field. And this card gains attack equal to the chosen monster's original attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. Just a phenomenal package of cards. I already kind of discussed beginning, but option on its own, also representing like 2,500 worth of stats if it's on its own, or contact fusion material for the Ripple Laser that we already talked about, is so good for a deck that otherwise has a lot of issues killing your opponent. The Ripple Laser specifically is a contact fusion of Gradius and Gradius' option that can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard in order to make up to 2 face-up monsters on your opponent's field lose 800 until the end of this turn. Another incredible way to clear big bodies, which again, this deck was sorely lacking previously. Onto the spells, we've got our one of Hammer Shot, because while you could play Pot of Greed in the slot, you really want to make space for the Compulse. 3 copies of EXCUTIE Scramble, which is a spell card that allows us to special summon a level 6 monster with 500 defense from our hand or graveyard face up to our field, and then locks us from attacking with level 7 or higher. And then we're on 2 copies of Overrush Storm, because this deck also really struggles with back row. Shiny Shady in the right spot can absolutely murder you, so having back row removal is really helpful. And then onto the traps, because this deck does actually play more like a control strategy because it lacks the killing power of a lot of the other decks. We're on 6 of them. We've got 1 Compulse, 2 Shiny Shadies, and then 3 of the new EXCUTIE Captures, which is kind of like a budget version of Shiny Shady, but is a little different in its restriction. Specifically, Capture reads, when your opponent normal or special summons a monster face up to their field, while you have a face up level 6 monster with 500 defense on your field, you can change a face up level 8 or lower monster on your opponent's field to face down defense position. This can hit vanillas, whereas Shady can't. However, this card cannot hit level 9s and up like Shady can. So, unfortunately, Black Skull Dragon does still completely dodge all of our removal. That is not exactly Compulse, but like, Black Skull Dragon is not the like important Red Eyes variant to be worried about in the current meta. This can hit Meteor Black Dragon, which is way more important and is really sick. I really like EXCUTIE Capture. It is a very cool card. But with the deck profile out of the way, let's see it in action. All right, in Cog Ladder against Yuga. Into the normal deck for Yuga. Okay, I forgot to get a mat and sleeves. It's okay, we don't need it. We're playing 33. What do we got here? This could be better. We do have Capture though, so I'm feeling pretty okay. We also have Lumiere, so we have a way to get EXCUTIEs online. We're going to summon out Lumiere here. Our opponent is going to put their phone in the microwave. All right, we're good. We'll set the Gradius' option here. Go Floa over the Gradius option to get it into the graveyard. So if we draw Beginning, it's online. We can set the Capture and set the Overrush Storm and pass it to our opponent. Overall, a decent starting turn for us. We do have Interruption, although this is a deck that loves playing back row removal. And Master Excel Road is a very good skill. They're going to reveal Roadstar, grab a Fusion, and the 7's Road Witch, who was a really solid target for our Capture. So what they're going to send to the graveyard here. There goes a Music Princess's Recital, which leads me to believe they have some gas in their hand. Here comes the Witch. I'm actually really tempted to just let this go and hit the 7's Road Magician. But if they have Charmy Witch, that is going to be bad. I think I do just do this. Witch is just such an easy target to hit. Here comes Sorcerer. Tribute off for the 7's Road Magician that we knew they had. This is totally fine. I can deal with 1 hit They got 2 cards left. They're going to set a card, go to the 7th Row Magician. They're going to mill a Strange Witch, which is really good for us because the less they have in that deck, the better. They're going to hit over our Lumiere and pass it back. All right. What do we got? There's the beginning, and there's a hammer shot. We might actually just be able to kill them here. We're going to rip this hammer shot immediately. And then... what do I got in grave? I got 2 monsters in grave. Okay, how are we doing this? I'm pretty confident that's a shiny Shady back there. So let's go EXCUTIE Scramble here for Lumiere. We're gonna go Leia Tribute You. No response yet. Let's go Vic Viper Beginning. Beginning. Send you to the graveyard. Reborn back our Gradius option. Option effect is going to mill. Hit an Overrush Storm. That's kind of unfortunate. We'll contact fuse these off into a Ripple Laser. Mill 2 again. Let's go Overrush Storm. Putting back you and you. We want the Floas back in deck. I guess I could put the Feynari back. Because we already have 1 Flow in rotation. It's fine. Send you back. Capture set. And let's get in for a decent chunk of damage. We do still have interruption for whatever their play is next turn. And they're on 17, which is damn low. Let's see what they got. Dropped 5. Master Excel Road, they got no cards on field to send, so they're going to have to send from hand. But they do get to add 2, discard 1 here. I do really like this 7th Row Magician, by the way. This Chronicle effect is very pretty. They're going to add the Witch from Grave and the Fusion from deck. And then send a Swordsman of Roadstar. Here comes Strange Cat. Okay. Oh, hi, Luster Dragon. I really probably should have hit that Strange Cat just in case they had... we're going to capture this. Just in case they had the back row removal, but I think we're fine. All right, they're just going to scoop it up because that capture was enough. Hell yeah. Let's hit another one. Y'all, I really regret hitting King of Games before recording this video. I was sitting in that queue for a damn long time. All right, into Euro on an archive skill. This could be anything. Please, God, don't be Red Eyes. It's going to be Red Eyes. We're going second. This hand is honestly not terrible. We have the Contact Fusion online, but this deck going second is a little rough. Uh-oh. We're in danger. We are very badly in danger. That's not very good at all. Hi, Meteor Flare Fusion. Yep. Meteor Flare Fusion. Fusing off these 2 for Meteor Black Drake. Black Drake's gonna mill. Set and set. Okay, this is gonna be really funny if we can pull this off. Wow, Scramble's phenomenal. All right, we're gonna go Plotty here. Actually, no, we're not. We're gonna go Lumiere. They have something. Actually, I really want them to interact with this early because then I can flow it back to hand. But it doesn't seem like they're going to. Let's go Plotty, reveal the Floa. To special out the Plotty. Come on. Hit the Shady, please. All right, Lumiere is going to go here. We're going to shuffle you away, Bye-bye. Let's go EXCUTIE Lilius. I'm shocked they're letting that through. Oh, I really don't want to overextend here, but I really do. So I'm going to. I will never be punished. I will never, ever be punished. I mean, I know they're just going to Shady me here. Or they're going to Shady the Lilius when it comes back. Yeah, there it is. Send that Meteor Dragon's chick. And then we are going to EXCUTIE Scramble back to Lilius. Swinging for 25. Let's pass it back. Lumiere is a very funny card. I will at the very least say that. We know that back row is not currently live, but we don't know what it is. It could be a Meteor Dragon's Nails. It could be another fusion spell. I'm gonna reveal Moon Dragon. Add Meteor Dragon to hand. Yep, there's Meteor Flare Fusion. All right, we're gonna deal with the big guy. Meteor Black Dragon's gonna make an appearance. They're gonna pop a card on our field. Goodbye, Lumiere. Normal summons out a Rocket Medic. This is very dangerous. They're gonna send a card back to deck and then add something from grave to hand. The Meteor Dragon. Summons out the Meteor Dragon. Is that more back row? Yep, 2 sets. All right, they're gonna clear our board. But we're not in the worst position, shockingly. We need some good draws here, though. That's not quite what I was hoping for. Let's go Lumiere here. No response. I think I am actually just going to send the Lumiere back to deck here to get this Meteor Black Dragon off board. And then we'll set Compulse and Shady and pass it back to our opponent. So that's 2 copies of Meteor Flare Fusion gone. Have they added enough the skill? I think they might have. Meteor Dragon's Chick's going to come down. That's a very scary summon. Dragon's Chick is going to get this Meteor Drake. Dragon's Inferno hitting our shiny Shady. That's not great. Down comes the Meteor Drake. We got to save the Shady as long as we can. They're going to reveal, and reveal. They did it in Meteor Dragon. Now I look stupid with this shiny Shady in my hand. Add the Meteor Dragon that they found. Meteor Black Rising. Hello, Meteor Dragon. They're going to add Meteor Flare Fusion. Here comes Meteor Flare Fusion. They're going to be able to hit my Compulse here, which is extremely bad. I think I'm dead yet. Now I am. Yeah, now we're dead. It's a shame. All right. GG's. Are we? Thank you. GG's. All right, let's hit one more. All right, into Tiger. Sorry, I'm very late to this, but it's fine. I got up because I didn't expect the queue to go this fast. Let's lead Lumiere and Lilius here. And then I think I'm just going to straight up set this radius as option. Maybe I'll set both. Maybe like, do I contact fuse and then just set both? I think I do. Not having any interruption here is extremely scary in a Music Princess because this deck can and will just execute us at the drop of a hat. So let's see if we can survive. We're going to draw for a turn. Down comes Spectre of Heaven's End, revealing... Oh, the wind deck? Oh, are we on the other wind skill? I'm very curious to see what this brew's up to. Heaven's Beginning. All right, contact fusioning away for Enigmatic Princess. Ooh, I love the darkness on that. Down comes another Heaven's Beginning. We are just doing this twice, huh? Yeah, sure. I am being assaulted by the previous engine in this deck. Yeah, we'll take 34 direct. Not a great spot to be. That is quite interesting. All right, let's summon out our Lumiere here. And then we'll go Floa over the other option. Compulse set. And just start swinging, I guess. They're not going to take damage from any of these, so I might as well just get in with the small ones and then hit directly. Keeping things pretty even. Let's see what they've got. Turbo Destiny Draw. Yeah, this is the skill that I thought. Place a wind attribute normal monster from your deck or graveyard on top of your deck in the draw phase. Draw up to 6. Here's Following World. Pot of Greed. Oh, that's very scary stuff happening here. Down comes Spectre of Heaven's End. Revealing Beginning, Secret Order, and Meteor Shards. Really interesting brew here. Here's Secret Order. Summoning out Milky Wave Neo. That is a big guy. I'm being greedy. All right, I think my greed might have just cost me the game. Never mind. We're fine. They activated a spell card. We're chilling! This Milky Wave Neo out of here. They have another secret order? I've been punished. I know. Just the Milky Wave. Nice. All right, we made it out of that. That could have gotten very bad. Ooh, that's not a great hand. All right, let's go over Rush Storm. Put you and you back. 2 shuffle away the back row. 5 for beginning. We're going to send beginning to the grave. Summon out option. Options effect. This is very bad. Oh, this is so bad. These, unfortunately, these captures are not online because we don't have any EXCUTIEs. Let's go Ripple Laser. Changing you and you. We'll set the captures and hope that they just get scared, I guess. Punch in. Let's see what they've got. Turbo Destiny draw is every turn. Twice per duel. Twice per duel if we're going second. Ooh, yikes. They get another turn of this if we don't make it through this turn, which honestly, given our field, I do not doubt it. This might unironically, like, if you ever see the wind box video on my channel, it's probably this. We did it! God bless. All right, let's hop back to the deck. All right, so 2 wins, 1 loss with the deck. I feel pretty decent about that. A couple of thoughts. So, first up, the skill. It's terrible, it's awful, it's miserable, it's literally every bad word you could call a skill, but it's what we've got. And Lilius is still a good card, so, you know, it's fine. I really hope we get the cards in the skill in like a mini box or something coming up, or like a, I don't know, a deck build pack. I'd appreciate that very much because otherwise this deck is going to continue doing nothing in tournament play. Additionally, I really like the generics in here. I think the sub-engine being the Gradius stuff over the Spectres, like we saw in the final game, was actually a huge boon because that Enigmatic Princess that we would have made in that final hand would not have been enough to actually clear through their board. They would have still had the Milky Wave Neo on board, which would have put us just completely dead to any follow-up. That said, the Gradius cards also just being additional mill engines, and the mill engines themselves also help you break through boards, I think is just infinitely more valuable than the targeted milling that the Spectres have. And despite the fact that the Enigmatic Princess is a good card and not taking battle damage is nice, and it's also a level 6 that you can shuffle away for Lumiere's effect, I don't think those differences outweigh just how beneficial the Gradius package is here. That said, I don't expect this deck to do really anything in tournament play anytime soon until we get any new additional support for it, but it is still really, really fun to pilot. I will give it that. It is just a good time. I think you can also touch this list up even further. I was messing around a little bit with an additional copy of Leia or Floa. Not really sure which one yet, and just cutting down like a copy of Capture. There are other EXCUTIEs you can play as well. There are other EXCUTIEs you can play as well that aren't like terrible. Specifically, I think it's Ram or Lucy, the position changer. I think this card is actually totally fine. I would not necessarily play Ram because you have to send a level 6 monster from hand, when instead you can put that level 6 monster on field. But I really do not hate Lucy. I think Lucy is a totally serviceable card. All that said, though, I want to thank you all so much for watching and sticking around at the end of the video. It means the absolute world to me that y'all continue to watch my stuff and like my stuff, because I'm just having a lot of fun with Rush Duel Links. Being able to play Rush at all, even in weird settings like this, and with skills like this that don't do anything, and actively make your deck building worse, I just like to play Rush. I'm just having a really, really good time. So that's going to be it for me, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!